Oh my gosh, hello. Firstly, like I'm so excited.
Hi.
I've got this shrine behind me because of course. Um
Love it.
I'm literally addicted, so this is crazy for me right now. But I have to
Oh.
slow down and I have to talk to you like in a well-managed thing. So okay. So today I am joined with Alice Oseman, the award-winning creator of the best-selling Heartstopper series, as well as several novels. Alice, it's so excited to be able to talk to you right now. I'm literally the biggest fan, so I'm going to be asking you a few questions,
Oh.
and yeah, hopefully I can keep my composure while talking to you. Okay. So the first question is, Heartstopper started as a web comic. In what way has Nick and Charlie's story evolved since those very early days?
Wow. It started with I just wanted to tell the story of how Nick and Charlie got together. They were characters in my first novel, Solitaire, and in that novel, they're already in a relationship, and it's such a strong, committed, loving relationship. But it's not really explained how they got together. So my initial idea for Heartstopper was just to tell that story of how they got together. But since then, it has evolved into this whole journey of Nick and Charlie's relationship through every stage of their school teen lives together. Yeah, it's become so much bigger than I originally planned, but it's been a lot of fun.
No, yeah, it's so amazing. Like seriously, like how you built that up, and now it's a like, and then it's a graphic novel, and a TV show too. Um, so Heartstopper is such a well-known graphic novel, but you also have your novels that are also set in the same world. How do you
Mhm.
think they differ when it comes to your creative flow?
Well, all my other books are prose novels, so they're not graphic novels. They haven't got any pictures in
Mm.
them. Um, and I mean, in terms of the creative process, there's not really a huge difference. Even with Heartstopper, I sat down, I knew what story I wanted to tell, and then I had to figure out how I was going to structure the story. And I quickly realized that it would be difficult to put it into one novel because it doesn't have the like beginning, middle, end structure of a traditional novel. It would work better if it was serialized, episodic, like webcomic. But still, whether it's Heartstopper or whether it's one of my prose novels, I still have to plan the story, think about the plot, structure the plot, think about the characters and their journeys. Where do they start? Where do they end in the story? Thinking about the relationships in the story and how those develop. So yeah, it's kind of a similar process, just different formats.
Hmm. So, next question. Why do you think Nick and Charlie and everyone else struck such a chord with readers?
I think I think first of all, people are drawn to the joyfulness of the story, and the hope and the optimism, despite the quite serious issues that they are dealing with in their lives, like bullying, homophobia, an abusive relationship, and later in the story, mental health issues. Um, Heartstopper explores some quite real, hard, difficult stuff. But despite that, the message is that things will get better, things are going to be okay. There is joy and love and happiness to be found. And I think people are just generally drawn to stories like that every now and then. We just need something that tells us it's going to be okay. So yeah, I think that's kind of the main draw of it.
Yeah, I think the aesthetic for me was like it's such a different way to go about like aesthetically, like when you look at something, but then still have those serious topics and also like, have that diversity.
Mhm.
So I watched your How to Draw Nick and Charlie in like an interview you did, and I was wondering
Mhm.
if you could look at someone and just draw them, or is it like something where you have to know their personality to like kind of get the nitty gritty of like what they actually would look like in the Heartstopper style?
That's a good question. I feel like I could just draw. I suppose I could just draw them if by just looking at them, but knowing someone's personality definitely helps. When you're designing a character, you are trying to show the reader what sort of character this is, what are they like, what's their personality through a visual medium. So thinking about what expression you want them to have is really important. So yeah, definitely knowing someone would help you create a more accurate picture of them, I think. Yeah.
How do you create the graphic novels? Do you come up with a story and then the illustrations, or do you do them both at the same time?
So I used to do them both at the same time. I used to just draw and write as I went along with no planning, literally just doing it as I was going along. But nowadays I do plan and I write before I do the drawing. So for volume 5, that was actually the first time I did it. For volume 5, I fully wrote the entire book before I even started drawing. That was the first time I'd ever done that. Until that point, I'd really been writing it kind of as I was going along. But now that there is a limited amount of time and space left for the story to happen, I felt like I needed to plan it a lot more carefully than I had done before. So yeah, nowadays I always write long before I start the drawing.
Does that differ in any way you do it? Like, do you think that, like, because like what you just said before, you're thinking more about what you're writing, like, does that impact the illustrations? Like, so do you kind of have to plan your illustrations beforehand because of that? Like, oh, I'm gonna have to draw this scene, and does that like make you not want to write that way because you're like, oh, I have to draw that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a lot of things that I hate to draw. Crowds, horrible to draw. Um, Buildings, like tall, big, complicated buildings, I hate drawing that. So things like that are definitely, when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, shall I set this scene somewhere else so I don't have to draw that? Yeah, yeah, it's definitely important to be thinking about, what I'm writing. I am actually going to have to physically draw it. So yeah.
I can just imagine the amount of like, if you draw a crowd, you have to draw like every single little
Oh
head,
my God,
every single
yeah,
little
it's
body, like.
unbearable.
So, with the Heartstopper series ending, do you see yourself doing another graphic novel in the Heartstopper world, or just another graphic novel in general?
I will definitely be doing another graphic novel because I love to draw. Drawing is my favorite creative activity. So I'm absolutely sure that I will be making a new graphic novel one day. Whether it will be related to Heartstopper, I really don't know. I feel really confident about ending the Heartstopper story with Volume 6. I feel like it's time. It's going to be a really beautiful ending. I just feel like it's the right moment to bring that story to a close. But I love the characters of Heartstopper, and genuinely, you never know. One day I might want to bring them back for some reason. I don't know what. I guess we'll have to find out.
Do you have a favorite book edition of yours? For example, like the hardcover or the Fairy Loot
Ooh,
edition, or just like the standard or the TV edition? I've got them all.
mm, amazing. Oh, I don't know actually. Just having a look on my shelf. Um, I do really like the UK hardback special editions. They're just like kind of one color with really nice foil lines. They're really pretty, and they feel really nice as well. They don't have a dust jacket. It's just like the hardcover, which I really like because I find dust jackets really annoying.
Yes.
So yeah, I think they're my favorite. Yeah.
What have you found readers have resonated most with in that Heartstopper series?
Oh, what have readers resonated with the most? I mean, I just judging by what people have talked to me about, what people have messaged me, I've seen a lot of people who relate to Nick's coming out story, which is really lovely to hear that that's helped people accept their own sexuality or just help them a little bit on that journey. That's been amazing to hear. Also, people have really appreciated Charlie's mental health journey, which is what happens later in the series. Yeah, people have felt really represented by that. So, yeah, it's just always really wonderful to hear that the series has resonated with someone in that way.
What would be the one message you hope readers take away from Heartstopper?
Oh, the one message, I think just the idea that things will be okay, even if things are really hard right now, things can get better. So many of the characters in Heartstopper have gone through really tough times. Charlie being the main example, he's dealt with a lot of bullying, and then he had to deal with having an eating disorder. But despite that, things are getting better for him, and he is still able to find hope and joy, and optimism. So yeah, I think the main message is that things can and will get better.
Amazing. I literally love Nick's storyline. Makes me cry.
Mm.
Literally in the series and like in the books, and yeah, amazing. So this is what, like, there's one last Heartstopper book still to be published. Can you give us any hints on what we can expect?
Well, I can't say a lot because I'm kind of only just starting to work on it. Literally just this month, I'm beginning my work on volume 6. But we know from volume 5 that when Nick goes off to university, he and Charlie are probably going to have to be long distance. So in volume 6, I really want to explore Nick and Charlie finding learning that they can be independent of each other, and that they're going to be okay on their own, even if they're not hanging out every single day like they have been so far. So yeah, I think finding that independence within a relationship is going to be a big topic in volume 6.
Exciting. So you've also been involved in the script for the Netflix TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Is writing for TV very different to writing books and graphic novels? I know it is, but like, how does it differ?
I mean, it's very different to writing prose, very different format, but it's actually quite similar to writing a graphic novel because it's mainly dialogue and scene directions, and that is pretty much exactly the same for a TV script or a graphic novel script. The main difference there is having to fit the story into the format of a TV show. So 8 half-an-hour episodes where every episode has to encourage viewers to watch the next episode. There has to be some changes made to make it fit into a TV show. The comics are much more low stakes than the TV show. Like problems that arise are resolved very quickly, and there's not a lot of really intense conflict or drama. Whereas in the TV show, that wouldn't really work. It wouldn't really capture people's attention in the same way. So we have to add a little bit more drama and angst and conflict into the TV show. So yeah, it's just all about the formats. Yeah, but it's good fun.
So, one of my favorite parts in the Netflix series is the way your illustrations have been included to express deeper feeling. For example, the crackle of electricity between fingers touching, the leaves swirling with emotion when feelings are heightened. Was that your idea? Is this like movement on screen how it feels when you're drawing the graphic novels?
I Funnily enough, I don't think it was my idea. I think I wrote the scripts initially without that. And then Patrick Waters, who is the other main exec producer on the show, he was like, what if we have the drawings and the doodles from the comic visually appearing on the screen during the most sort of emotional moments in the show? And I was like, oh, that's a really cool idea. And then I wrote them into the script. And then once we filmed the show, I was making storyboards for these moments and then showing that to a 2D animator who would then actually do the drawings and make the animations. So yeah, it was a really cool way to preserve the aesthetic of the comics. And it makes the TV show really feel like they are of the world of the comics, which is really cool. I really love it. It's something really unique to the show.
Yeah, definitely. I literally watched the first episode when it first came out and I was like, this is the graphic novel. This is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I was shook. I feel like a lot of people were as well. So what has been the most unexpected thing that has happened to you since you first released Heartstopper?
Oh, the most unexpected thing. Um, I mean, I always say that like the biggest surprise of all was just the success of Heartstopper. Like I started it was such a niche thing. Webcomics are so niche, they still are. And when I first thought, oh, maybe I should try and get Heartstopper published, I was told there's not really a market for this. No one is really buying YA graphic novels. Um, but now to have heard that and then to see it blow up in such an enormous way, never would have expected this to happen. So that is definitely a big surprise. Um, yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's grown so big. Like I remember when like it was on Webtoon. I was
Mm.
oh, and then it got published, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can have a physical copy. Great.
Hmm.
So, very important question: have you ever been to New Zealand?
I haven't. I would love to come to New Zealand. I really would.
Hop on over on a like 24-hour to flight
Yeah,
journey, but might take you a whole day, but it's worth
one
it.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one day.
someday it will happen.
Okay, final questions. These are going to be quick fire questions.
Okay.
Just answer the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Preparing. Okay. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Tea or coffee?
Tea. But I don't drink either, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nick or Charlie?
I can't. Impossible choice. Truly impossible.
Okay. Countryside or city?
Oh, countryside, I think.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset, definitely.
And lastly, summer or winter?
Winter, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Alice. It's been a
Thank you. Thanks for
pleasure.
having me.
It's been a literal pleasure. Like, this is so amazing talking to you, and I can't wait for Heartstopper 6. So get back to writing.
I will.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.